Call meeting to order, the zoning board. Brenda said that she would take notes for us too. You note that we had 4 members. One was excused because he was traveling.
Thank you.
Would you like me to do a roll call first?
I will.
Okay.
Why don't you
Brenda?
do it, Patty, if you wish?
Yeah. Brenda Bonasera,
Yes.
Thomas Bonasera, Rudy Davis,
Yes.
J.C. Info,
Present?
and Mr. Draskovic was unable to attend.
That's correct. As you can see from the first handouts, what was presented to us from the city council at the last meeting, it's self-explanatory. And we're supposed to investigate the status of our properties. Now, I know we're all trying to figure out what is the main reason for this.
Right.
And I'd like to ask the city manager if he knows any complete reason why this is necessary.
Well, you've got a charter,
Yes?
okay, and it's kind of outlining what they're asking you to do. They want you to review the city properties and that, you know, currently are generating revenue, mainly City Hall and the marina. And then they want you to look at the parks and see if there's any alternative opportunities to either get revenue from them, or is it something that we might need to dispose of. So what I've tried to do ahead of time basically for you is locate the deeds, and in this package what you have is the property appraiser's information, and if there was a deed attached to it, we went and tried to get it. Now, you'll see on some of the property appraisers things, let me see if I can find one real quick that I can show you. It's got a little, in this area right here, like on the first page, if it's got a little box there, we were able to find a deed, or at least the first page of it. But there are some parcels that have this little round circle with a line across it. There's no deed, so we're gonna have to dig deeper to find that. And at the top, what I did, I put, you know, where the deed was for, 7th Street, 2nd Street, 1st Street, Belle Isle, the marina, Morgan Park, all of that information is there. And then to kind of give you a little bit of head start on this, I prepared a spreadsheet that basically listed all the properties, whether we had a deed or not, the restrictions we know of, and then if it's, as an example, a lot of the little pocket parks, there's drainage pipe going through them that does the outfall for our stormwater. And we listed if there was drainage there. And we also listed if there was a dock there existing. And then the land designation, which this area here is institutional, that's the designation. Our Public Works house over here is institutional. Pretty much everything else is recreation open space, except the marina, and it's designated as a marina in the land designation. And then I gave you the map, and you've seen this before, I'm sure, because you were involved when we did the last comp plan.
Yes.
So, and these are the current designations that we have in the city. And the city has a couple parcels of submerged land that they're kind of marked in a little box, but they don't really show up good on this map. But basically from 1st Street to the bridge here, we own that submerged land out there where those bird islands are and things of that nature. And then another area that we own the submerged lands is in front of the marina, you know, the waters out there, the city owns them. So I've tried to give you as much information ahead of time as we could cull for you. So now the council's wanting to kind of get your recommendations on, is there something we could do with that property? Could you sell it? Could you put another lift, you know, for rental, a marina lift at a park? This building's another example. You know, could the land use be changed to something else? And then the recreation open space places like Bayside Park, which was bought with Florida Communities Trust grant money that the city got from the state. You know, we'll give you that grant document, but it has limitations.
So I can imagine.
Yeah, so that's what we've given you to try to, how do we say it, jumpstart it. Do some work ahead of time.
These are all of the pieces.
Yeah,
involved.
yeah, and they're all marked on the map, you know, that's why I try to print them in color. The recreation open space are these black dot areas there. That's, you know, but, we've given you all the deeds we can find. There's some deeds we couldn't find, and I think the only way we could find if there'd be any restrictions would be either have a title search company dig into it or something of that nature. And I don't know if they, you know, what that fee will be.
Do we have any kind of a budget at all? That's what I'm asked at the last meeting, because I knew title searches come up.
Well, it will come out of the existing budget right now. There is money in there for consultants and things of that nature, so that's how it will have to be paid for if there is something we need to locate for you.
Lynn, are we in dire need of financial assistance in this city?
Well, the stormwater projects are expensive,
Sure.
and, you know, we collect a reasonable amount of taxes, but it's not enough to cover those projects. So we're using our reserves to do things like, you know, try to stop some of the flooding. So, you know, it'd be nice to have some more revenue, and we're looking at other options too. So it's just not this, it's, you know, we're looking at,
Right.
you know, stormwater fees, we're looking at, you know, what's the best use of something, and that's what we're asking you to do as a group.
So I have a stupid question.
No, there's no stupid questions.
Are all these, minus the city hall, I'm assuming, are all these places paid for? Are
Oh.
all the parks free and clear?
Yeah,
All, the house over there, everything the city owns?
yes,
Okay, so if we decided out of all these to sell one, it'd be pure profit?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, everything, no, the only thing that has any mortgage on it is this building.
How bad is this one?
The mortgage, it's down to $1 million.
What's the interest?
We pay $160,000 a year in principal and about 40, I'll say 45,000 in interest.
It's about 9% of the budget. Correct? 9% of the budget.
200,000 out of a 2.7 budget. Yeah, 8 or 9.
So, typically, these lands, I think, came from developers who finished sections of the city and donated or somehow conveyed the property to the city.
Right, you're gonna see in some places like, the one that was highlighted that I saw, Crossman Park, it was gifted as a park to the city by Crossman's. And you'll see that in their deed. Some of the others say it was a gift deed. Doesn't say anything else, you know, so there. But the other thing that you have to look at is, okay, if that's you've got to look at the land and say, if there's a drainage outfall pipe going through it, there's not a lot you can do with it. And a lot of those lots are little skinny, you know,
Yeah.
or half lots, I guess, at some point in time.
Or a
Sliver,
quarter,
yeah.
yeah.
So, you know, you have to look at all of that. So, you know, maybe the opportunity is to put a boat lift at that park that somebody wants to rent. It's a possibility. But you wouldn't get very many boat lifts there. You might get one or two, depending on the water frontage.
And then you have a liability issue and a,
Well, not any more than we have with the marina. I don't think we would have any more.
I
Yeah.
assume that somewhere in the process, we should also get the sentiments of the people who live on each side of these parks.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Yeah, so the council's basically asking you to give a recommendation.
Okay? I mean, that should be part of the feedback. We recommend you can put a boat lift here. We've spoken to the neighbors on each side, and this is their thoughts on that, just to complete the process.
Yeah,
Okay?
wow, with some of those half lots and quarter lots, there wouldn't be enough place to back a truck in.
well, you wouldn't have it wouldn't be a boat ramp, it would be.
Once you open
Yeah,
the door, you never know what the hell's gonna happen.
yeah, but the
Understand?
boat ramp's a different animal.
Yeah, boy. Altogether. Okay. I would
So,
like, go ahead.
That's really what, you know, we wanted to give you this information today, let you take it and digest it, and then you can schedule another meeting to kind of come together and discuss it. So, that's all we have. But I will ask Vice Mayor, I don't think I missed anything that was the thing, do you?
I can expand on some points if you'd like to.
Yeah, certainly.
These little parks have the propensity to become red herrings. You know, the council's not looking at selling property. We're not looking at disposing of property. We're looking for some recommendations and outside of the box thinking on how to better utilize our existing assets. We have really three major assets in the city. One of them is City Hall. We have a debt service right now of approximately $200,000 a year. We took out a $3 million mortgage, and by the time it's paid off, we will have invested $5 million into this place. The only revenue that this place is really generating right now is when we rent out the place for parties or conferences or seminars or whatever. If you look at the fiscal year 20 budget, our projected revenues coming in are actually decreasing there. So what we're looking for are recommendations on how to better utilize this building. The other major asset that we have is the marina. Well, we tend to think of the marina as the marina. What we need to do is look at that parking lot. We've got a huge chunk of land sitting there that isn't really doing anything right now. Bel Air Beach is 1.7 square miles and approximately 65 or 70% of it is water. So that parking lot is a considerable chunk of property and it's doing nothing for us right now. You drive in from the north from Clearwater Beach and you see this parking lot there. And city manager has done a great job in kind of rejuvenating that place and beautifying it a little bit. But it's still, I don't think it's representative of what we want Bel Air Beach to look like. Is there some alternative use for that thing to become a revenue stream for us? I don't know. That's why we're saying, let's think about that. It's a big piece of property and.
I know there were several proposals in the years past that was poo-pooed because of restaurant and stuff like that, because there's a business restriction in the city, which is not violated. So that wall we ran into before, I remember.
Well, pitch the ideas and the recommendations, or just, I mean, brainstorm some ideas and say, yeah, and if we did this, again, these are the constraints you would have to bridge or find a way, a workaround for. That's what we're looking for, but right now, just give us some recommendations and research the ideas and figure out what the constraints are, and then we'll deal with the detail. We ran into this sort of thing when we undergrounded Bellevue Estates Island, and we had to develop some of the workarounds. Some of that was we created a mechanism for creating special assessment areas. Well, you know, we have the ability, we have the technology to do that kind of stuff, but without knowing what the problems are, we can't start working on solutions. So don't be too focused on, oh, you know, we're looking at disposing of properties or whatever. You know, it's the 80-20 rule. You know, 20% of our properties have the potential to create 80% of our revenue streams. This building, the marina, that sort of thing.
Has the council had any kind of an inclination to sell this building?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Again, let me just say that no idea is off the table. I'm just saying, maybe you could lease a space for offices. Maybe, I don't know. We start going to outside services to have seminars here or something. I don't know. I mean, what are the possibilities? I think they're kind of unlimited. And let's just put them on the wall and start eliminating and say, well, we can't do that because of this or whatever, but I'm not saying anything's off the table at this point.
This is not an overnight project. We can see that. Is there any anticipation of a deadline that the
Well,
city council has in mind?
Well, I think if you look in the charter, it was originally June, and I think the mayor wants to pull that back to April timeframe. I thought that was the final deadline. I think that's a revised draft. I don't think that's the final draft. I think the final draft had it as April of 2020, because that allows room, if there are some issues that need to go to referendum, allows it to get on the November ballot. And we're not saying there is anything at this point, we're just, hey, if there is something that came up, it gives us some wiggle room to put it in the correct format and terminology to include on the November ballot.
Yeah, I guess my revised copies does have a date of April, prior to the April council meeting. 2020, April 2020.
And I think
Glenn, that
that's,
isn't locked in concrete, is it?
no, sir, I don't think they are.
Okay.
I think that's part of why we ask you at every council meeting to come forward for 5 minutes and just say, hey, we're on track, we're getting bogged down in this one area, we need some administrative assistance in finding and locating deeds, we need some money to chase or go to the title companies to help us track down this information, or we're ahead of schedule, or we're getting behind. Just give us an update, and if you need more time, then that's what we figured out.
I can definitely see that
Sure.
happening. It's like somebody saying, I want a widget, but no directions on how to help a building. So,
Well, we don't want to be too overly prescriptive in what we're asking for. You know, we want to give you a little artistic license in this thing. And, I mean, maybe you start researching certain things and all of a sudden you're kind of moving one direction. I mean, so.
has this been, will this be publicized at all for feedback from the residents?
Of course. I mean, your reporting is, your monthly status will be in a public hearing, and then your final report is public information, right?
Well then, we're shooting for a report in April, or,
I mean, if you come to us in March and say there's absolutely no way we're going to have this done by April, we need 3-month extension or something. That's
Okay.
what we gotta deal with.
All right. All right. I'd like to use a little organizational situation now as far as, it's been a while since we did meet because there was nothing that came up that important that we didn't sign off on that were under the direction of Lynn or Patty. I'd like to organize the committees as far as chairman, vice chairman, secretary. And at this time, this is one thing I want to do just to make sure, because I would like to be able to appoint certain people, or whoever chairman is, to do certain jobs for us or designate.
Sorry.
What I'd like to do now is just call for quickly the nomination for chairman.
Committee? You?
I have a nomination for chairman. It's myself. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are
Can
there?
you clarify like what you're asking? I mean, I only see 5 people total. So are you saying you want to divide the 5 people into subgroup or sub responsibilities? Is that what you're asking?
This could be considered by our committee, yes, to bring it up.
Or are you asking for us to bring other people in to help us? I'm not,
That's all a possibility, but I'm just
Yeah.
trying to organize the structure of the committee first, that's all.
okay.
The legal. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Vice Chairman. I'd like to make my proposal for Rudy Davis for the position of Vice Chair. Is there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Closed. Welcome, Rudy. Secretary. She said she would.
Yeah, we're all looking at her.
You
She's
feel
not-
secretarial?
You know what, if you can
Sure.
deal with this,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Is that a formal nomination, Rudy?
Yes.
There's been a nomination of Brenda. Is there any other further nominations? Any other further nominations? Further nominations? Nominations are closed. Brenda is the secretary. I'd like to appoint a treasurer, but we don't have any money, so. It wouldn't be bad for a person to be able to check in and see what status might be as far as money that might be available in case we need to go to a title search or something like this would be a,
Well, we have just, I have money in my operating budget
well, I'd like a
for
person to be able to say,
consulting.
yes,
So that's money that, I'm sure if we need to use it for something, we'll be able to
Okay.
do that. So we don't have to, that would be something that finance will deal with
all
internally.
right, that's fine. I move nominations be closed. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Nominations are closed. I will have these, at this time I want Rudy to continue, with his consent of course, and the cooperation of our outstanding city manager to pursue the ins and outs of the approaches to this. And I'll work very closely with Rudy, but I want him to spearhead this for us, because he seems to be rather connected from his past experience. Is there any objections, Rudy?
I'll do what I can, do the best I can.
Okay,
I'll be glad to help you, Ruby.
Okay,
Tom will help, we'll all help,
all right,
okay?
okay.
Mighty fine. Do we want to set a meeting in January after we go over all this stuff? It'll take, anybody's gonna do it in December. I know that. Is there a particular date that
No, that's up to you guys.
comes, well, I would,
If you pick a date that we have a conflict, we'll tell you.
Oh.
Right,
And
yeah,
that would be, what was it, 13 and 22nd, we have a conflict,
Why, what's that?
the finance committee.
What do you think of this particular time? That this is a good day for me, Wednesdays, late in the afternoon. Is that a
if it works
problem?
for you, it's fine.
That's fine. we can-
what is that third Wednesday?
Well, it's the 15th, but how about the 8th?
It's all quick.
Well, what I'm seeing is we need some reading time just to absorb
Absolutely,
this information
absolutely.
before we can actually formulate in our mind what is the path we're gonna take to complete what's in the charter.
Sure,
So just like to absorb this, think about it, and come back from the 8th just for kind of an organizational, what did you see? What do you think we need to be doing from this point on, and get that structured? And then we can get out and actually get some work done.
that's just, what about you two? Is the 8th or the 15th?
I'm pretty open, and, I have specific things on certain days, and, I can, say whether I'm available or not, but generally, I can move things around, so. What I would like to see is, I'm sure this is not the first time this has been gone through, though it may have been way in the past or whatever, that a lot of these properties have been looked at, and there has, I'm sure, some sort of a write-up as to, we can do this, we can't do that, so on and so forth, just to give some insight into some past thinking on this on these properties, and then look at that and say, okay, well, did they think about this, did they think about that? But somewhere to start, a starting point, just to give you a general idea of, just to start thinking about it. Instead of just some wide open space in which you really don't know where to start, where to go. It'd be nice to have some starting point.
Absolutely. Would the 15th be objectionable? Because I'm thinking of this month is pretty well kept up with people that are traveling and everything else. And that would give us just 8 days in,
15th 's
in
okay for
January.
me? I'm open the 15th.
Let's go for the 15th. Same time period, 3 PM.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Patty, you may send out a reminder, that's all.
Okay,
We requested you to do.
okay.
Period. And I'd like Lynn to come in if he would.
Yeah, that's fine.
That don't conflict with anything for now?
Mhm.
Okay. I will go around the table. If you'd like to start.
I just had another question for Lynn on
Go
the
ahead.
marina. It seems to me those parking spaces were used in our commitment to renourishment.
That's correct.
Do you know how many, was it totally, or just a certain number?
I don't remember, because that was but I think there's a number, and we'll dig into that just to clarify it.
Okay.
That'll be something that we'll find for you.
They had to be available.
Yeah, you have to have them available for public parking.
But what if other people park in them?
What? Like
Whatever else thing may be going on, what if other people park in those spots? They're still available.
Well, you have
if you
to,
happen to get there at the right time.
yeah.
I
Beach,
don't-
beach renourishment, really what they do is they look for parking spaces within, I believe it's a quarter mile of the beach. Unless that seems to ring a bell. So, we had that issue with Morgan Park, and we expanded it, and then we put in bike racks, and they gave us credit for it. So, the marina is close to within a quarter mile of those beach walking accesses, not like Morgan Park or 3rd or 6th or 12th or
The
19th.
Momart,
Yeah.
Does that mean that it's just not restricted from public parking?
No, you have to have it for public parking.
Okay, so it's not, there is no restrictions on public can park there.
Yeah, right.
But if you had a restaurant and you had parking where public could park there,
If it takes away from the beach renourishment numbers, we'll have to look at that for you.
Right. yeah, that number, because that couldn't be,
That's a ton.
diverted. So we just need to know how many spaces.
Okay.
Lynn, on this sheet here,
Yeah.
now, is there somewhere in this information the identifying number that exists at the auditor's office, tax office, or whatever? to
Yeah.
correspond?
What I've given you right at the top of this is the parcel ID.
Okay,
Okay. And as I said, some of these we were able to find through the property appraiser. But then we found that the only thing the property appraiser really put there was the first page. And there might have been 7 pages. So then we searched, because at least we had the first page to be able to say, okay, it's in book, like this is a big one. It's in book and page 623 and page 232. So that's how we came up with some of these deeds. Because the property appraiser, for whatever reason, puts the first page on there. And as an example, this building, the first page has something to do with Pinellas County giving us the right to build this building. I'm trying to think, I want to say it was the water tower property or something at the time. So that's the only deed they have, so we're gonna have to do some more research for this building's deed.
And speaking of deed researches, for us to go out to title companies, do we have to go through a process of getting so many to bid on it, to write up a bid process?
Depends what they charge, and we'll just ask that. We'll get a local title company. I mean, if it's not a bunch of money, then, it'll be done within our purchasing policy.
okay, I
Pam,
understand.
you have some experience in real estate. Do you remember offhand what typical title searches ran? A couple hundred? All right.
Just close that property.
We just
Maybe we can get a package deal. Do you remember- Lynn, was there any particular title company that you used at all anywhere?
No,
Trustworthy, loyal, friendly?
we could look at some of these, see if we have any documents. Maybe we can look at the property there and see who the title company was for that. There's a million of them floating around here.
And they're all.
They're all about the same,
I mean, if they run 200, where 5 properties without deeds, $1,000.
Yeah, which we can purchase, I have the authority to do that.
Okay,
And if I have to get us, that's just a purchase order to them
Okay.
and say, hey.
all right.
Well, I know both of those gentlemen, Thomas and Burke. So I can ask them if they know anybody,
Yeah,
and they'll tell me.
yeah, there's so many title companies running around here, who knows?
How would we bring certainty to any historical encumbrance to the property from grants or otherwise?
Well, we'd have the grant documents somewhere in our archives.
Okay, and we fairly certain we've got all of those and
Yeah.
no surprises out there on that? Okay.
No, the only one that's, most of the time, the FERDAP grants require a 25-year commitment that you, or you have to reimburse them. Florida Communities Trust, you either have to pay for the land or give it back to them.
Yeah,
And that's typically how it works.
and did you run across any of them that were in perpetuity?
Well, Florida Communities Trust is pretty much in perpetuity.
Which
grant.
one?
Florida Communities Trust. When the state of Florida, and because we're a small community, we don't have to share in that. So we put an application in, you score high enough in points, and that's what happened with all this waterfront at Bayside. It was a Florida Communities Trust grant. So the state of Florida bought that property and gave it to the city. And there's restrictions on that, and there's restrictions on what you can do on it, and there's restrictions on how you can use it, and technically, the city couldn't sell it. It would have to revert back to them unless the city wanted to pay whatever that cost was.
And there's probably the waterways and the Coast Guard and everybody else involved in all this too.
No, not so much Florida.
Not too
Communities-
much?
No, not Florida Communities Trust.
I know when you build a dock, you've gotta get a permit from everybody in the world,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
so,
There's gonna be some involvement with water navigation.
yes.
Yeah, there would be, if you said, and probably, we'll just use Belle Isle, because it's got no dock and it's got open space. If you said you wanted to put boat lifts there, yes, it would be a water navigation permit.
Right. I know the people down there, had to deal with them a number of times, multiple issues. I'll give my friend a call and,
There's a lot of friends there, Rudy. I can tell you that.
Okay, Brenda, do you have any questions that you'd like to bring up?
No, it sounds kind of monumental, but I think, maybe we need to drive around and look at these places and just see what's feasible and check off the list. Small access, this is not gonna work.
Absolutely.
And then like Glenn said, the city hall and marina, zero in on that. Maybe make some visits to other city halls and find out how they're utilizing their space for revenue. I don't mind doing that.
Well, that's a good start for the secretary, that's excellent.
as far as riding around together, that'd have to be through an organized meeting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but you can do it individually.
Yeah. So we couldn't go as a group unless we wanted to have a meeting, go do it as in meeting.
But two of us could go together and report
Individually,
back
you
to.
can do it.
Individually only,
No, two
Oh,
can't
really?
go.
yeah.
Oh,
Two
okay,
can't go together
okay,
unless you're in a constructed meeting,
okay, I understand.
yeah. Just
Could we have
sunshine
an
law violation.
intercontinental meeting?
Hmm?
We could have a conference call meeting.
What's the
But
conference called?
I know what Tom's
Yeah, and anything
great chauffeur.
anything you need, just ask Patty or me and we'll try to get it for you.
Thank you.
I think a
That's what we're here
compliment to
for.
Patty and Lynn is well in order because they've always been cooperative with any committee that I have served on. Being the chairman of the police pension board for 2 successive terms, they were extremely helpful. even when Lynn was mayor, it was a cakewalk as far as finding out information, which was very cooperative. So I know it's not a situation where if we bite off more than we can chew, we can find out an answer
Yeah,
somehow.
it
Tom?
may take us a day or two, but we'll find out.
Would Fred's handout from last night be helpful if we sent that out, or no?
We could send it out just as a refresher, but
Right.
they're an existing board. The Fred did a sunshine law presentation, but we didn't feel like you're an existing board that
Right.
you needed it.
But I don't know that Tom and Brenda have ever
We
had the
could
opportunity
send that,
to
maybe we'll
attend
just
that.
send it so you got it. How's
Yeah.
that?
Sure,
Yeah,
that's fine. She's got all the emails and everything. Patty, that's fine. We got it on record, it's promulgated, so that's fine. You got any questions at all, Tom?
Well, I come back to the statement that I made before, is I'd like to see if this, maybe it's included here, any
Oh, yeah.
past history. I don't know if it's easy to get to or not.
Well, you're good at this.
On these lots,
I like engineers.
just as a starting point.
Okay.
I mean, who do we go to get that information? To see if there is any past analysis of
That has to be done through
First Street or whatever.
you just
Specific-
ask Patty, we'll, I don't,
See, I don't know how
I
the
mean, I don't
records
recollect
calculate.
that there has been an
I don't think this
evaluation
has
like
ever
this.
been done,
I don't think.
that I can remember.
I mean, the only thing we've really ever done is, to my knowledge, is we did evaluate the marina to put more boat slips in,
Right.
and there was a conceptual plan. And trying to remember if we've done anything.
I don't recall anything in our
No,
channel or anything that
no.
came up
But,
on Belle
You know, I
Isle
have
down there.
that in the archives, you know, because there was a discussion about adding boat slips to bring in more revenue.
Right. I understand there's been some discussion on the marina though.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting to see, but that,
yeah, and I can get that for you.
There you go. You're in charge of the
And all
marina.
the slips are,
Rented?
yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the one that was just recently vacated, but we have a waiting list, yeah, so we'll fill it.
Okay, great.
I have a question regarding deed restrictions to the various areas, you know, like Belle Isle Estates and all of those as they were developed in sections. Each of them, I believe, all had their own deed restrictions. Are they still valid restrictions, or does the passing of so much time, they're superseded by the city?
Well, the only one I know of that had deed restrictions is actually Bellevue Estates Island.
Belle Isle Avenue has one.
Yeah, well, I've never seen them, so I don't know what they say, because as an example, Bellevue Estates Island, I think it's, if I recollect right, the deed restrictions roll over, I think it's every 10 years? Is that right?
Something like
Make-
that. I think each section had their own deed
Yeah.
restrictions.
They're pretty much say the same thing, but, and until the group as a whole, at whatever that 10-year point or whatever it was, comes together and says, we want to get rid of these, they just keep rolling over. So I don't know if Belle Isle has some deed restrictions that we don't know about.
Yeah, I think, pretty sure, Marcia being the original builder out there, I'm pretty sure in their records somewhere I saw deed restrictions.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, maybe you should look at them too.
At some point, I think there needs to be a discussion with a good real estate attorney. Is Fred, does he feel he's up to speed there? Or,
I don't know if from a real estate standpoint, I'll ask you.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I am familiar with one who is specifically a real estate attorney.
Okay. Yeah, I'll ask him, but like I said, you know, we did find during the undergrounding process, someone brought forward the Bellevue Estates Island deed restrictions.
Yeah,
And then we did some more research and found out, it's kind of funny how they work, because like, there's 115 homes there. Maybe there was deed restrictions for this 12, and then there was another deed restriction for this 12. It was kind of broke up.
right, yeah. So legally, where do they fall into the question, how do we observe them? How do we treat them? How does the city treat them?
Right.
And,
Yeah, well, the city really has no, for lack of a better word, skin in the game with the deed restrictions. Those are,
Within
Individual
the
deed.
defined area.
right,
They're
that's the
separate.
defined area.
Okay.
Any other questions of Lynn or Patty? At one time, Lynn, I remember seeing a map that had the individual listings of land owned under the dock by the individual. Some of them were, some of them were not. Where is that map?
Riparian rights?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we have a map that says,
I remember seeing it.
other than our submerged lands, that,
That's what I mean, a submerged land.
yeah, we have those, and see this, if you look on this map, if you look here, it's kind of an outline.
Mm-hmm.
That is the submerged lands that we actually own.
Okay,
And then if you look, there's some outlines there at the marina. It's kind of a little like triangle shape up at the top, and it goes down. We own submerged lands there. And I don't think it shows on the,
I was talking also about individual homeowners.
Yeah.
It shows on the tax appraiser.
and the tax appraiser, yeah, it does show it
If
there.
you go to PCAO or PCAO website, it shows the actual riparian rights for some lots, and there's only
That
like
have-
2 or 3, believe it.
Yeah,
in here.
yeah, because the largest submerged land owner in the city is the city.
Yeah,
And
okay.
like that end was given to us in 1970 from the state. The city council went to the state and asked for it because people were filling their lots. I guess at that time they didn't have any seawalls. So to get more lot size, they just dumped some dirt out into the water.
Okay, we all have our different ideas and we all have a lot of,
Yeah, and if you have any questions,
Homework.
feel free to call.
okay, we
Yeah.
will do that.
We'll try to get any answers, it's not a problem.
So just to review, we're each gonna go through all of the information provided. We're gonna try and find time to go by the individual spaces
Mhm.
and get in our mind, generally
Anybody can do it
speaking,
on their own,
what,
yes.
what we've got to work with. These deed restrictions, I'm gonna read mine and just see how it applies to this situation. I'm not sure how, if it does, and if so, how, but I'll look at mine
Okay.
and bring it in. If we find there's some entanglements there, then we may need to do more of a search for those in all the areas of the city. Okay. I will see if I can have a gratis conversation with the real estate attorney I know to see if he has any thoughts on what we're doing and what we need to be careful about.
Okay.
Just to have that I think he'll do that for me. And you're gonna check the marina commitment for renourishment. Okay. At some point, we need to think about going outside the box and finding people like realtors or others who are more familiar with how to look at a piece of property with regards to other utilizations. It's kind of beyond their scope, help think outside the box, just finding some people that that's what they do, looking at property and assessing its utilization potential. So, all to be done, Chief.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee?
No.
I'd just like one observation. I'm tickled that Lynn did what he did for us, and Patty too, but I want to acknowledge the vice mayor, who was the only one that I remember from the committee meeting, council meeting, that volunteered to help us. And I appreciate that very much so.
Make your beck and call.
Okay,
Wanna-
as long as your
This
wife
means
would
it
let you out of the
sound-
house.
There's no sunshine too.
You get the 2-for-1 program here, and, yeah, you know, I can talk individually to anybody in this room here.
Okay. Is there anything else come before the board? Hearing none, we'll stand adjourned.